Hi, this is Mason, and you're watching the 315 with Brian Higgins. Now it's time to start the post-game show. Here's Brian.
Man, we did this again. We did this the other way, and we screwed up the post-game show the other day, and we've screwed it up again. It's just like not what you're looking for. So like none of that. Yeah, muted, wearing green. This is twice in a week. We're gonna do exactly what we did on Monday when we screwed up the basketball post-game show. We are going to pretend that never even happened, and we're going to start the show again.
Hi, this is Mason, and you're watching the 315 with Brian Higgins. Now it's time to start the post-game show. Here's Brian.
The people on the podcast are never going to know what they missed when we edit it after the fact. Oh, you people on the podcast don't even know what just happened. Welcome in to the post-game show. Final score today, Miami 38 and Syracuse 10. Miami 38 and Syracuse 10 is the final score today. Good teams win. Miami won the game. Great teams, though. Great teams cover. You know what the spread of this game was? Oh, Jumpin' Joe Filardi may know what the spread of this game was. The spread of this game was 28.5. Yeah. Take that, Canes backers. Wear it. And that's it. We have reached the end of our positive portion of the Syracuse football postgame shows. The Orange scoreless for the first scoreless for 27 and a half minutes. That's Mason's bit, James. I have a lozenge, but Mason always sounds like he could use a lozenge, and that's why we love him. And unfortunately, almost exactly as expected, I got the almost exact margin right. I had 45-16, so I had it a half point the other way, because I had Fran going for too late. Instead, he opts to kick the extra point, and Syracuse loses by 28. Miami, I don't know why they needed to waste their trick play to get a lineman a touchdown in this game, but they did. So that's out of the bag. That was peculiar. But here's what we got. Here's what we got going on. We've got the link pinned top of the chat, as we always do. The link is pinned top of the chat. So if anybody would like to join the old show here today, you can with the link that will take you to a video call. If you don't, if you're feeling rather mysterious today, we have that option. For you to feel a little mysterious today, if you want to leave your camera off, but we'd like to get a look at you.
Hi, this is Mason.
See how that's the wrong button, and see how that goes down the line. But we're here to break down this game. If you missed basketball post game earlier today, it's A, available, so you can go back and watch it later, or B, I'm sure we'll touch on the hoops a little bit today, because we had a 28-point loss on one side and a 40-point win for the basketball team. What else do we got? We'll get to our Wildbirds Unlimited Big Air player of the game. Unfortunately, it is a road game, so there will be no Fran Brown press conference. I think there's actually going to be the possibility of Miami's post-game press conference today. I don't know if we can judge the temperature of the room if we want to take a little looky-loo or listen-y-loo to that. That could be a thing, I guess. That could be That could be a thing if we want that to be a thing. Look at it. Look at that. Yeah, there it is. A podium. How about that? There's a podium. They have a bank as a sponsor. So we'll keep an eye on that, at least maybe since we'll see what Mario Cristobal has to say about Syracuse or whatever. I don't know. Probably won't listen to too much of that, but we have the technology should we opt to go for it. But mainly I want to hear from you after this one today. Ooh, it looks like we already have a caller getting ready to let fly. Hang on. Let's get ready for our first caller today. And yeah, I'm sure everyone's in a great mood after that one. So we're looking forward to what people may have thought about Syracuse going down to Miami, and it wasn't a blowout from the get-go, but it was a blowout. So let's go to our first caller, who's listed himself as G-Rob 2.0. That's disturbing. That's disturbing. What's up, man?
How you doing, man? First on 2 weeks in a row. I'm not going to be as fiery and passionate because I think I've lost it. But how are you, my man? You sound good.
I'm doing good. We've got our nighttime mood lighting going in the spacious basement studios. So we got to look good if we're not feeling good. How that game went.
I think green and orange as a combo is underrated. I mean, I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I've got, for those that have not seen me wear this before, and I have worn it before, it's the Crunches St. Patty's Day upside down stoplight sweatshirt version of the sweater that you can get at Papa Sports, and they only sell it for that month of the year. And it costs way too much money, but I couldn't resist last year, so it was both a completely irresponsible purchase, but it's an outstanding sweatshirt that I highly recommend.
It's like a green milkshake. I mean, you got to, the one time a year I go to McDonald's, I'm like, I got to get the green milkshake. It's a thing.
Yeah, you can get the sweatshirt, you can wear it there, so then when you invariably spill it on yourself, you won't even notice. I think it's a win-win for all involved.
Yeah, when people ask me something about where I grew up, I'm like, we have there's this thing called Tipperary Hill, and they've got a stoplight. It's flipped.
Yeah, and they're like, why is it flipped? And you're like, I don't know.
It's a thing. It's something that makes Syracuse unique in a good way.
It's because it is. Stop asking the questions and enjoy our
How many stoplights do you have in your town that are flipped?
Yeah,
that's what I'd like.
Because your stoplights are right side up doesn't make you better than us. Yeah. But that's kind of how all that went today. Just that's what we're talking about. That's how unfortunate that football game was. It feels like today.
The reason I have my name up, last week I came in as Dino 2.0.
Yes.
And the question I wanted to pose to you and to the chat, I think
this is James, by the way, if you want his actual name.
It is.
But he can be G-Rob 2.0 today.
I think that the honeymoon is maybe slowing, not quite at a halt. It is for me. And the reason I say that is removing last year from the equation and removing you have to trust in Fran when he goes third person, trust in me, we're a family. Next year is going to be good. If you remove all of that and you look at this season through a lens of, objectivity, it's standing there by itself.
Mm-hmm.
How is this any different than a Greg Robinson 4-win season, than a Dino 2-win season? And by the way, the game management shit is starting to remind me more and more of Dino. The should we go for a field goal? Yeah. Should we go for a touchdown? That's happened quite a bit this year. Last year it was like he was on a heater that lasted the entire season. This year to go, on top of the fact we get in the red zone, once every 3 quarters. Once we do, it's always offside. A false start is our first move. And then once we get pushed back into obvious field goal range, it's a go, don't go with either a delay or a timeout.
Yeah, I'd say I still wouldn't compare it to G-Rob just because that's unfair to anybody involved with anything. That's just not remembering how dismal the G-Rob era was. The G-Rob era, because I look at this, some of the Dino comparisons, the clock management has just been baffling. And are you kicking a field goal or not? You can't make the decision now. You have to have made the decision based on have an if or statement before the play, and you're either doing this or you're doing that based on the result of the play before, not just messing around for a while. But like G-Rob, even the year he won 4, wow, like it was all bad all the time. The Louisville
Yeah.
game, he had one good win ever against Brian Brahm in Louisville. There's one win that you can point to. I can't think of a second. Like Dino throwing out the COVID year, which was a grease fire.
Hmm.
Dino would have, he'd get one every year for the most part, and then
Yeah.
early on Dungy would get hurt and the years would fall apart. Late career Schrader would get hurt and the year would fall apart. This year kind of feels like that because hey, they went down to Clemson, they got a massive win, even though Clemson turns out not to be great, but I don't care. That was still
Right.
a big win. And Jelly gets hurt, and the season hasn't imploded. Much like all those seasons. So I think more in that way, James, it feels like a Dino here than anything G-Rob put out there, though it has been exceedingly hard to look at for the last month.
But that's why I asked the question because, like I said last week, for me, I have some serious questions about the coaching staff and also the team building because you look at other teams and the announcers keep saying you can turn your team around. You can go from a team like Syracuse this year at 3-10 or whatever, 3-9, and then next year go 11-2, and that's true. So you look at the team building and what depth that we were supposed to start having this year. It's obviously there was a quarterback, and without that quarterback, we're clearly a really bad team. And so that's a concern, in and of itself. But it just does. Like I said, if you look at this season through a lens, and yes, I realize we had a quarterback injury, but that's happened before. I mean, Dungy did get hurt, I feel, at like every other game.
Yeah.
So we've had even other teams with bad second string quarterbacks in Syracuse history that have eked out a win or two, after the injury took place.
Yeah, and I'd say here's really the main difference, and it's not an on-field difference. The main difference is what we saw earlier this week, is that Fran flipped a 4-star defensive back from Florida State, that despite all of this, the recruiting for the future has remained at a high level. What we never saw that from Dino, so there was, like in the years where this happened, there wasn't a fallback. Like this year, like this is terrible, right? This is terrible. This is really hard to watch. But to take Fran at his word here, like they are playing a crap ton of freshmen right now. The hope is that it leads to something. It never felt like those years that fell apart for Dino were then building to something later. This year, the hope is, all right, these freshmen are now better next year, and your quarterback comes back, and you add in a stud 5-star wide receiver, and, whatever, and it's building to something for, if you get 2 healthy years of Angeli here, you got a shot to do something in the next couple of years. Unfortunately, you look at what Dino did. You had the 2018 season, which was as fun of a Syracuse football season as I've ever been around. It was an absolute blast. And then the hype went into the offseason, but if you really dug down into the bedrock a little bit, you saw the cracks that, okay, like a lot of the guys that did that last year are gone. Like a lots of landing on this quarterback in Tommy DeVito, and then the offensive line turned out to be a mess, and it falls apart, and they just never quite recaptured it. The hope is that after this year, Fran gets it going back. But, at the moment, that's where we're just, right, we're just leaning on the hope we've been sold, and we're hoping it's true.
Do you think there's any risk, Brian, that, and I do know that he flipped the recruit, and I'm taking him at his word, although I will say to build a team with youth, I almost think is, a questionable move at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like what Belichick and I forget who his guru is, Joe Lombardi. That's their goal. That's their goal is we want to have a team that's going to be good when these guys are juniors in 3 years. And with the portal and being able to basically flip your roster every year, I feel like that's not necessarily the smartest move. But do you think there's any risk, Brian, that some of these recruits, once they see the 3-10, and hopefully we don't get blown out again next week, but these aren't just losses; these are really bad, depressing losses. Do you think there's any risk at losing, some of these recruits? My other question is, knowing Angeli's coming back, how the hell do we convince a less shitty second or third string quarterback to come to the Cuse in case, God forbid he gets hurt again. So sorry, I had a 2-part question, but I've been meaning to ask you about the quarterback issue.
Yeah, let's take that first. I think, well, again, we still haven't seen Carney. I do wonder if this is all setting up to maybe start Carney for the Boston College game. I don't really know. They said so many nice things about him when they got him, and then we haven't seen him throw the ball. Like, is it there a chance that after another year he could be that guy next year to be a backup? I have no idea. Can you sell a portal guy at the idea of being a backup? That's hard. That's really hard. So I think you're laying a lot of it on Carney, or I know they have another quarterback coming in this year. His name escapes me. But then you're relying on a freshman. So that's tricky. Honestly, that is a legitimate problem, not just for Syracuse, I think, but for a lot of schools out there, James. As far as the other part, no, I'm honestly not worried about that. If it was a different coach in a different situation, I'd be worried about that. But like, it hasn't happened yet. You haven't seen any hemorrhaging of recruits. In fact, you've only seen adding for this year and the future. Like, your number one stud recruit was at 2 of the worst dome games in recent memory. It was at the Carolina game and the Duke game, and like they went to the Carolina game, and like 2 days later, his high school teammate flipped from Florida State to join him. So honestly, no. What I'm intrigued about is there's so many young players on the team. Whatever your NIL budget is, how much is Fran going to be able to retain based on force of personality? How many defect because of money? That I think, James, is the biggest question going into this offseason that, honestly, sitting here right now, I have zero clue how to predict. Like, a guy like Antoine Delorier, he'll get some offers behind the scenes. Like,
absolutely,
Demetrius Samuel, he'll get some blatant offers behind the scenes.
John Tate will definitely, and he will take those offers. Yeah. He will take that up.
That's a whole different thing. But there's a lot of, like, these freshman guys, like those two especially stand out because they played so much, or a guy like Byron Washington or whatever. They're going to get some offers. I agree. That and Syracuse potentially either is going to have to use up a significant portion of their budget to match, or is going to have to hope they stay with taking less. And I think that will be the most fascinating part of this offseason, along with the quarterback, James, which stands out as, who the heck knows? And then you're just crossing your fingers, right? Because Angeli, you're not going to see him in the spring. He's going to be working his way back from an Achilles. So somebody's going to have to practice a quarterback in the spring.
And what if he starts slow? I mean, that is a major concern, because even though I think the holes in the roster and perhaps some inflexibility in, I think that's a word, in Nixon's game planning and approach, I'm still wondering when he thinks Ricky Collins is going to complete a back shoulder fade 20 yards down the field on the red line. Just wondering when that's going to occur. You saw a few schemed up passes to the flat. I think I like that. I could see that. Yeah. But
the first few drives, I'm like, all right, they're being conservative, but they're doing a thing. And then
when he passed downfield, goes to the other team. I still think he has scored more offensive points than defensive points, but the margins are, they're evening here.
Ooh, man, I'd have to. Yeah, he got 7 defensive points today and 3 offensive points. So there's.
But I do worry, Brian, and I appreciate you, letting me vent again. This I had more of a question though, because obviously I know you're as much of a diehard as I am here. The concern I have is we don't know if Angeli's going to look like Aaron Rodgers for the first month or 2 of the season. Yeah. Everybody's Achilles is different. I did think a lot of hits he took, I was worried he wasn't going to get up, even just in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, I said that like week after week, and before he didn't get up, go figure, on a non-contact play.
He's a slight guy. You could see, when he was wearing street clothes today out, without pads, and they showed him on the sideline. He's not he's I would say a narrow, slender fella. But, I heard a couple of other, Syracuse sports personalities talking about how, what if we lose Ricky? I mean, he's going to go in the portal. Thank God.
Yeah, they don't want
him back. The loss there is what? Not only do we get money that we could maybe put into a couple of defensive players or semblance of an offensive lineman, but I do worry that I let Collins go. If we have, I think we're going to have to rely on the freshman that you mentioned, because for whatever reason, I don't know if they drafted Carney to be like Taysom Hill, or They thought maybe he
I mean,
could.
everything I heard is he threw the ball a lot. I mean, he was a dual threat, but he was
Yeah,
like
he
the
had like
whole
10,000
show.
yards.
Yeah, he was the whole show
Yeah.
down there. I mean, I didn't watch it, but I mean, you heard great things.
Now Fran said, 30 yards and further, he lacks accuracy and zip. And I mean, again, I'll take him floating a deep ball. What about a Russell Wilson moonshot? It couldn't be worse than what we have right now.
Yeah,
I mean, if he can go 50% with an interception to touchdown ratio, I think, Collins is at like -8, -0.8. He's like 8 and 12.
I believe he's 6 touchdowns, 9 picks now. Or no,
Yes.
technically it was 2 picks today, right? 6 touchdowns, 10 picks. He was 6
And I
8
feel bad.
coming
The
in.
second one wasn't his fault, but they also had a guy drop
but
a
it
picker.
wasn't. But it was. He threw the ball behind Boobie Johnson, and weird stuff happens when you throw the ball behind your receiver. Like he couldn't catch it if the ball was placed right. He's catching and running, and that's on the quarterback. That's all on the
At least
quarterback.
I mean, we can't ask him for ball placement. As long as it's not directly to the defender. That's one of the reasons I like the sideline go routes outside the red line, because we know those are going to be uncatchable out of bounds.
Yeah, he misses
So
them 5 yards wide.
They can't be turnovers because they're going to wind up 5 feet into the white on the sideline.
Oh man, McCord was so good at those too. That's what's so frustrating about it. I think in many ways, James, that's why I'm trying to think of this from Luke Carney's perspective. Like he's from Texas, he's nowhere near home, but all of the things we've laid out in the quarterback situation, if you're getting a red shirt this year, why not come back for one more? Because it stupidly might end up your team. Like if Angeli's not right, or if he gets hurt again and they can't bring in anybody else because of Angeli, you might trip into starting half the season next year. And then even if you leave, you still got 3 years left somewhere else. Like I think Carney coming back honestly would be a decent career decision from his point, trying to think it through.
And I don't know, maybe in the offseason they send him to Jordan Palmer's quarterback camp. I mean, I've seen his highlight reel. This is on YouTube. The guy can throw. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. He may not have a rocket like Collins, but again, he may have accuracy, which I would take.
He's a college-style quarterback. He's not like McCord, who was an NFL quarterback. You just got to design the offense for that. You have to play to his strengths. And I'd say at this point, I mean, start Ricky at Notre Dame next week, I guess. I don't know, or Florida.
Because I think wouldn't Collins burn his red shirt? Sorry to interrupt, but wouldn't he, even though he only played 2 downs last week, and
Carney?
Yeah,
he has one more game he can play. He's played.
Okay, so if he did play next week, he would still be able to maintain his red shirt.
Yeah, that's why in many ways, like if you're going to plan out the rest of the season, start Carney against Boston College. At least give him a home game and a softer landing spot, and prep the next 3 weeks to get him ready to start that one game just to see what you got.
I mean, 4 looks better than 3.
Yeah.
Maybe we can recruit another lacrosse player to start,
and then let Gary get Filardi back so they can try to go in the Natty. Let's do that. That can.
Guy's a hell of a lacrosse player, man.
That's everything I've read. All right, man. Thanks for the call.
You got it, man. Have a great show.
Thanks for hopping on. And I think it's all very pertinent questions. Like, I don't know how they handle the quarterback. Like, it's like last year, right? If McCourt got hurt at any second last year, they would have been screwed immediately. And he was healthy, and he was phenomenal all season long. Yeah, San Diego Cuse. Like, if you had a chance to get Carney 2 starts at some point this year, or start him then, and then it's like, okay, then he'd be willing to blow his red shirt if he got to start the rest of the year. Now you've ended up in a weird spot. Like, now there's no point in blowing his red shirt, but why not spend time? You got a bye week this week. Why not spend the bye week getting Carney ready to start the Boston College game, and then just let sorry, Ricky, this is what you're getting paid for. Let Ricky just wear it at Notre Dame next week. It's not stuff you can say you're doing out loud, but yeah, you gotta do something. You got to do something, right? Oh man. I don't know. All right. If anybody else would like to join the post-game show, a link pinned top of the chat, and you can join as James did right there. But it's it's tough. I feel bad for Collins, but Collins is in the spot that you can only be in the modern college space, right? I don't know his exact salary, but you've heard numbers out there. Is it $500,000? Is it closer to $1 million? I don't know what number he got, but he was a former four-star recruit. He was at LSU, backing up a Heisman Trophy winner, then a prospective high draft pick, though he struggled this year in Nussmeier. Like, there were people after him. He's getting paid in a way that's going to set him up, not for life, but for a very solid start to his adulthood, assuming he's not going to the NFL. Right? So the stuff comes with that. Like, we all know the deal. Like, when you're booing a guy like that, you're not booing him the way it would have been if you were booing a college kid 15, 20 years ago. It's a different world. So it's one of those things where next week at Notre Dame, yeah, I would have loved to see Angeli in that game just because of the history of the whole thing. Like, I'm sorry, Ricky. Like, you're going into a tough spot, but you are getting the start in this game. Like, this is how you're earning your money. Like, it's not a good way to earn your money, but this is how you're earning it. Bruce Kanziger, it's a great question, right? It's an Achilles injury. And it's an Achilles injury to a young guy. So it's even harder to understand. Like, you'd think he would be faster. James brought up the Aaron Rodgers situation. Look at Kirk Cousins last year. Kirk was like 36. Aaron was 41 or whatever. And Jelly's, I don't know, 22 or something like that. So you'd think he'd get better faster. If it was an ACL, as much as those used to be the dreaded career ender, you wouldn't think twice, right? He'd have, that'd be an 11th month recovery basically for the start of the year. But there's a 0%. I mean, he's not playing a second in spring. That would be nutty, right? I mean, maybe he's out there hopefully like doing a little soft toss or whatever, but he's not playing. Like, Carney, probably, whomever, like, somebody's going to be the quarterback in the spring. Like, people are going to get reps in spring this year. And that, honestly, Bruce, that is why, and as much as Fran, you can't really say it out loud because you can't put on the season, but now you're 3-7. Now you cannot go to a bowl game. So, this is why, and you got a bye week this week. This is why Carney should not have played last week. The 2 drives they used him last week cost him a chance to start 2 games to end the year. You could have, once you knew the spot you were in last week, you could have taken Carney and given him the last 2. Just to see. And I'm not saying, oh, he's the better guy, it gives you a better chance to win now. It's not about that. That would be all right. What level of comfort do we have in what we have now and what we learn from seeing him actually play of what we need to do, pardon me, to get this guy ready in case Angeli's not ready to start the year? Because, like, today, November 8th, we don't know that, right? You don't know that. He's still in crutches. You don't know how he's recovering. Nobody knows how he's recovering. It's literally impossible to know how he's recovering right now. It is impossible to know how Angeli is recovering right now. So, yeah, like, that's a heck of a thing. Pardon me. This is going to be fun for you guys to watch. Yeah, I just blew my nose at you. Take that, chat. Yeah, San Diego Q's. Tylee Kill. There's a guy. I like him. He can scoot. Like, you can, you can do some stuff with him in the offense next year. I really like him. I really like the idea of him. That, like, we see all these young guys. For, like, the ones we've gotten to see, like, I get what Fran's been telling us. I get it. I just wish we didn't have to absorb this year. But I'll say this. Not that Fran would have gotten fired after, like, say the years got flipped. Say this year happened last year. Hired a coach with no coordinator experience, blah, 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 all that stuff. If this year was last year, all of us to a man would be like, what a disaster fest of a hire by John Wildhack and the Board of Trustees, and anyone that had anything to do with this. How did they let this huckster sell them on this? What Fran still has going for him now is last year. And as bad as this year is, the grace of last year, big picture, is it's gonna carry him into next year. Right? I'm still in on Fran long term. Do I think Collins will be on the team next season? I would be beyond stunned, Bruce, if Ricky Collins is on the team next season. I would be beyond stunned. What's the last? Today's the 8th, 15th, 22nd, 29th. I would be stunned if Ricky Collins is part of the team by like dinner on the 29th. There's no way. There's no way. Like, the only scenario is if basically he eschews almost all of his NIL. Now, I assume it was like a one-year deal he got, but like, they're not going to pay him to be here. Like, you'd have to give him like basically nothing. You'd have to basically be willing to be the third or fourth string quarterback. Now, for some reason, he wanted to do that. He seems like a pleasant enough guy. Like, he's not a cancer in the locker room or anything. But there is no good reason for Ricky Collins ever to play for Syracuse again after this season. And I think it's pretty much that simple. And I feel bad saying it. Like, he seems... I said this after the first few starts, and he sat down, he did the press conferences, and they're tough, and you just got drubbed, and it's not fun, and everyone's down. I thought he handled himself great, given all of the circumstances in those press conferences. I thought he handled that as well as he could have for a really tough spot to be put in. But if he's on the team next year, that's just bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. And I think everyone knows it's in everyone's best interest just to move on. Like, Fran said out loud who the starting quarterback is. Like, he sort of caught himself and was like, but if Ricky's here also, everyone knows the deal. And it's fine. It's fine. Hopefully he finds a spot that works better for him. I don't know. I mean, it's not necessarily, it's just, he's not that good. And, not all 4-star recruits end up actually being good. And unfortunately, that's the case with Collins. Like, he cannot throw an accurate pass. And that is a significant problem. All right, we got another caller on the line. Our guy Nick out in Vegas. What's up, Nick?
Hey, pal. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Well, as good as one can after watching that, but we're doing all right.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Listen, I took a lot of positives out of today, Brian. I wasn't
was
nearly
great.
as upset as I thought I would be.
Yeah, defense was great, and they got worn down, but because they were on the field so much. But I thought the defense first half was fantastic.
And not for nothing, they started 4 offensive linemen, 3 of which were freshmen that will be back next year.
Yeah, and I know they got high hopes for him, and yeah, it led to some kind of gnarly sacks of Collins a few times. Miami, how many sacks did Miami? Miami ended up with 7 sacks. In the game, there was a couple. Who was it? Right tackle today. He got turnstiled a few times, but
Pringle. Yeah,
Pringle. He's the South Carolina transfer, right?
Yeah,
I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, you look at them; they all look the part. Hopefully, they can get coached up and be good next year.
Tyreek Hill, like you said, I heard you say he can scoot. The kid,
like him.
He's so low to the ground, and his lower body's so thick, right? Like I think he'll be real good.
Mm-hmm. No, I really like him. He had 44 rushing yards in the game today. Just looking at it, real quick. Like, yeah, I think he looks to be a dynamic kind of athlete. I'd like to see him more the rest of the season if we could just to get a look.
So I was just talking, and I wanted to get your opinion on this, but I don't know that the backup quarterback for next year is on the roster right now.
Very possibly not.
I mean, Filardi will be back just because he's a lacrosse player,
yeah.
Right? And that's his main reason for being at Syracuse. But I think you have to start him against Notre Dame because
Filardi.
And I'll tell you why. Yeah, and I'll tell you why. Ricky's mentally not able to play right now.
Yeah,
he's so far in his head that regardless of the play call, he just can't execute.
Mm-hmm.
Just can't do it, right? And Carney's got 1 game left. Save him for BC if you need it, so you can at least get a win, right?
Right.
Hopefully. But Jakari did something. I don't know what he did or what he didn't do, right? But for whatever reason, he's buried himself.
Yeah, I have no idea.
He's
what
gone.
the deal is there.
Yeah, no, he's gone. He's going to be in the portal. So's Ricky. And I heard Bielen's getting switched to a different position because of his arm angle. Every time he has a reoccurring issue in his arm because of his arm angle. So
There was
he
always
won't be a
talk of that
quarterback
with
next year.
Beelan, like when they were recruiting him. Like they recruited him and like you can get a shot at quarterback, ... But yeah, so my
Right.
guess is that's probably where that's headed.
So realistically, the only other player you can play is Filardi. And yes, it was garbage time. Yes, it was against their backups. But you know what? He was 3 for 3. And what else do you have to lose at this point?
He had more yards this week than last. He had 39 yards today after 38 yards last week, did Filardi. Yeah, I'd say I'd reverse engineer it, Nick. You know, the more I think about it, I still wish you hadn't played Carney last week so you could have taken this bye and started him the last 2 games just to see what you got. I would honestly, I'd set this up to start Carney against Boston College and just give him the whole game regardless of what's happening just to see. So that leaves, to your point, either another game of Ricky or another Filardi party on the road at Notre Dame next week. There's no great answers to that. So,
You're damned if you do, damned if you don't in that regard, right?
I mean, like it doesn't matter. So do you make Ricky your sacrificial lamb? Then that's how he's earned his NIL dollars this year, or do you do something else just for the sake of it? I could argue either one, and unfortunately, Nick, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, agreed. Well, listen, I took some positives away. I think the youth movement's in full effect, and the good thing is, especially after we saw him flip to Darius Hughes last week, recruiting isn't taking a hit because of this, which is huge.
Yeah.
And one thing I will say, today was the hardest I've seen Fran coach all year long.
Oh, he was in it. Like there was the one play they showed the good replay of it when it was that long touchdown given up and they were trying to figure out whose fault it was, and like Brahim Long wasn't even the frame, but that was the guy that Fran was going to. You're like, oh, I wonder where the safety was. That answered for me where the safety was on that play. I'm like, there had to be a safety vaguely in the area code. But
somewhere on the field,
Fran,
right?
Fran was over there, position coaching it up for 30, 45 seconds mid-game. And yeah, I'd say that's good to see that Fran's still grinding it during the games. He's certainly not giving up.
There's no quit.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
we'll see. All right, Filardi next week. I can see it. Like I don't know. There's no good answers, but somebody's
Well,
got to
listen, no one's starting next week.
Yeah. What's that? Oh,
No
yeah,
one's starting next week.
I like Filardi's chances next week against the bye. Collins against the bye. I'm a little nervous. We toss Ricky out there against the
But
bye.
hey,
Brian, thanks for taking my call, man. We'll be on the next time.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Nick. Our guy Nick out in Vegas. And, honestly, San Diego Q's, that's what led us to Filardi last week, I think. Like, Fran was hearing the noise. Fran basically said it postgame. He was like, oh, you wanted us to stop playing Ricky. But he knew what was going to happen if he stopped playing Ricky. He knew he didn't have another good answer. And we saw what happened last week when a lacrosse player went 4 for 18. Well, at least today, coming in late, 3 for 3. He looked a little sharper. I know the game's over at that point. Did cover the spread. If you want to start him at Notre Dame next week, fine. Fine. And then if you're telling me we can only have one game of Collins, which I think is of Carney, which I think is a mismanagement of the roster, especially because of the bye week this week, you got to set it up for him to have 2 games. Just spend the bye week this week getting Carney ready to play Boston College. Spend next week getting Filardi and or Collins ready to play Notre Dame. Like you're 3-7 now. Now you can. I don't know if Fran will say it, but now you can say, all right, we're not eligible for a bowl game. Like, you don't have to pretend anymore. You don't have to pretend anymore. All right, if anybody else wants to give a shout here as we're talking about Syracuse just getting thumped by Miami today. Final score was 38-10. The Orange lose by 28 in a game where the spread was 28.5. Basketball won earlier today by 40. If you were not with us for that post-game show, what are you doing? That's available as well elsewhere on this very same YouTube page that if you found yourself to. So go to that. And if somehow you've been here for one or both of those today and have not clicked the freaking subscribe button, like I'm telling you, it's like right in front of your face. Just click the button. Just click the button. And then I would advise go into your phone settings or whatever and turn the notifications on for the channel, because then you don't have to do pesky things like remember when the shows are on. I was trying to Rolodex mentally when the shows are this week. We won't have a Fran Presser show on Monday because it's a bye week, so no Fran Presser. Jordan and I will do a little TPS report. We'll do that Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. There's no football on Saturday. Basketball is playing Drexel at definitely a time next Saturday. I want to say that game's 3:30, so we'll be here post-game next Saturday, like 5:30-ish. I think it's 3:30, though that's the second game of a doubleheader of some sort, so I don't know. There'll be a game, and we'll be here after. So at the moment, only 2 live shows this week. Maybe we'll try to scrunch up some other interviews or something out there in the world that we can toss your way at some point. Yeah, Ryan, subscribe, like, notification button. If you find other buttons that you don't even know what they do, click them too. It's fine. It's fine. Like, click the give your information to the Russians button. It's fine. Click the we can all see, in through your camera into your house button. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. So, just click all the buttons. The buttons are great. The buttons will do you no harm. The buttons are wonderful. The buttons are a great way for you to live your life right now. All right, speaking of cameras looking in to people's yards and their houses, we got to do a little nighttime Wild Birds Unlimited Backyard Bird Cam. I can confirm it is nighttime in the backyard, and there are no birds, but we still do need a Wild Birds Unlimited Big Air Player of the Game. Yeah, if you hit the unsubscribe button, Ryan, I'll unsubscribe from you. I will find you and unsubscribe. We got no time for that. We got no time for that nonsense. All right, people. Player of the game. I am open to suggestions for a player of the game today. Syracuse's leading tackler was Gary Bryant. He had 6. The Orange forced 0 turnovers. 0 turnovers. The Orange had 2 sacks. Anwar Sparrow had a sack. Gary Bryant had a stat. Yeah, Joe Filardi did have a passing touchdown. Who even caught the touchdown? Somebody had a receiving touchdown. Baker Washington? What's a Baker Washington? Elijah Baker Washington, the 98th string tight end, had a passing touchdown. I feel bad because we've already done this year, and this comes off as schlocky and whatnot. The defense was great in the first half, but Syracuse's best player today, Syracuse's best player in the first half, when they were doing it, he dropped one right on the 2. It was like a perfect wedge. Jack Stonehouse averaged 50 yards a kick today, had 4 kicks north of 50 and pinned 3 inside the 20. I'm just saying, in a first half that was scoreless for almost 28 minutes, out of the people I'm giving credit to, Stonehouse, high on the list. His mustache remains fantastic. So unless anybody else has other ideas, it's not like 38-10. You're just not feeling great about life. Yeah, Yasin did have a couple of good runs, I guess. But he also fumbled at the end of the half and gave away a chance to score. What was Yasin's final total? 13 carries, 63 yards, and a lost fumble. Nixon had 61 yards. Yeah, Keelan Marion. He's on the other team. Yeah, Stonehouse is my guy. I like Stonehouse. Jack Stonehouse, unfortunately, sorry rest of the team, for the second time this year. Jack Stonehouse is our Wild Birds Unlimited Big Air Player of the Game. Though I'll say this, Jack Stonehouse had an NFL game today. 50-plus yards on his punts, dropped 3 inside the 20, and kaboom, plopped one neatly right on the 2-yard line. That was a nice one. We had a leaf that fell when we did our Wild Birds Unlimited Player of the Game earlier today for football, and we delivered that one to Donnie Freeman today, who I thought was fantastic, and a leaf nicely trickled down, through the frame. That was nice. Are you seeing Fran Brown postgame quotes here? San Diego Qs. I'm going to go dig some of those up. So we won't have any Fran Brown video today. Just due to the fact that they are in Miami and it is not available live if you are not in Miami. But I also could. Oh, we could go back in the archive here and play Mario Cristobal's opening statement here. Anybody want to hear what Mario Cristobal had to say to open his post-game press conference? I bet it's compelling. I bet it's rich and compelling. Hang on here. Here's Mario. Mario's coming to the podium. Yeah, what do you got? Oh, it's a bird one. Wrong one. Hang on. There we are. Mario, what do you got? That's quiet. You're quiet.
4 for 4 to start.
Be noisier.
On our first 4 drives, punting the ball. After that, we went 4 for 4. Really kind of ignited by Dalen Upshaw's play and Keontae's interception, which really helped us establish some momentum.
Let's turn you up.
And then
You're
eventually
quiet.
take control of the game. But obviously a lot of stuff to cover. That being said, questions, please.
Mario, what did you guys show today? Obviously, there was some tricky stuff from Shannon. 6 sacks, I think it was 10 TFLs, takeaways. Even with the slow start, there was an awful lot of good things on paper. What do you think you guys showed about where you are right now?
Well, I think that we showed in spurts what a really good football team we are. I think we also showed what you see in college football, that games at some point in time during the course of all 4 quarters, there's some back and forth and some, you know.
You're boring me. Can't do it. Can't do it. Won't do it. Get out. Boring me. No, that was a bad decision. All right, here's some Fran quotes after the game today on Carson Beck. I think Carson will be playing in the National Football League. He can play in any system. He'll be in the league, but my goodness, you do not want Carson Beck to be your quarterback in the NFL. Other quotes on if Collins is improving. I thought he did a good job adjusting in his head and going out there to make plays. Sure. I think Ricky handled the adjustments and stuff all right early in the game. Brown, when asked if he needs to switch his strategy in the portal, to answer that would be disrespectful to my players. Switch his strategy to what? Like what? I would need to hear the context of that question. That's an odd timing of a question like that in a weird scenario. Brown on what Miami's defense did well. Quote, they just stopped us. They did a great job blitzing. I like their defense. They did a really nice job. All right. Brown on the coaching performance, giving the switches he made coming into the week. Quote, and remember, Miles White, wide receiver coach, was fired. People shuffled around and whatnot. Did a good job all week. Thought they were good in the game. I'm going to wait to watch the tape to answer that question. Brown on the team's overall performance. We were competitive for the first 26 minutes of the game. A few calls from the coaching staff that shouldn't have been called. Happy to come down here and compete. All right. Brown on what he told Collins following the pick 6. Just keep your head up, keep pushing, keep fighting, make smart decisions in the second half. Brown on starting quarterback Ricky Collins. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. It was a mixture of up and down. He helped us keep the ball sometimes. Oh, man. He helped us keep the ball sometimes. Man. No, Bruce, I have not. Honestly, I don't know, because usually when you think quarterbacks in the portal, you're thinking, going out and getting a starter. Like if you're operating under the assumption Angeli's the starter, like you might be able to go pick up a veteran backup type that's maybe was a starter at a lower level, and this is his chance to get one taste of the big time. Like maybe, I don't know. I think it's going to be really hard to get a quarterback worth of crap in the portal this year. Yeah, like I said this during the game. I tweeted it, San Diego Q's. Like, there was talk last year, like when the Giants were, aiming for a high draft pick. Carson Beck, started last college football season as the potential number 1 overall draft pick. Like there were very early mock drafts of Giants and Carson Beck. Oh, whew, thank goodness. I like me some Jackson Dart. Carson Beck, wow, couldn't have done it. Like he'll be in the league, he'll get drafted, but he's not a guy. He's just a guy. He is not an NFL quarterback. He's not a good decision maker. He's not an accurate thrower under pressure, and he turns it over way, way too much. Yeah, I'm not on Portal Watch yet for stuff like that. I still think the most interesting thing is, all right, can Syracuse fend off the behind-the-scenes advances on their big-time young players? People are going to push for Demetrius Samuel. They'll push for Delorier. They'll push for a guy like Byron Washington. There's probably a few others out there. People see like Tylee Kill's little tape. They'll make moves. A guy like him. Like, will Syracuse be able to retain the guys they want? Yeah, Sean, but I think we saw, like, is Angeli McCord? No. If you, for some reason, have the chance to get someone that you think is McCord, all right, do it. But I think Angeli is, like, he was playing well. He wasn't like, holy crap, this guy's a game winner by himself. But once he got his sea legs under him, like, third, fourth quarter of the UConn game, I thought he played really, really well up until he got hurt. I thought he was making smart, decisive reads. Now, he's not McCord. Like, McCord was the driving force. He was winning games by himself. But Angeli potentially could be he could potentially have 2 years of starting on a team that is more talented than what McCord had around in him, with a 2-year build that, yeah, Tremble's another guy. Yeah. Peel too. Yeah, Peel's good. So, yeah, that's a good group of 5. Like, you got to keep your eye on that. Ears open for NIL. Like, those are 5 guys you got to take care of. Those are 5. Like, I think Tremble with a full offseason of training at linebacker, I think he can be a weapon defensively next year. I think he'd be a weapon next year for sure. All right, last licks for calls out there if you want to chime in tonight. But, yeah, honestly, that's going to be the story of the offseason, because I don't think they're going to have trouble keeping their guys at signing day, because this is not like the guys that Dino would lose late that picked Syracuse and then got a better option late. These guys have already had the option and picked Syracuse. And honestly, if you're a big-time recruit, like a lot of those guys are, and you look at Syracuse this year and you see them struggling, I feel the way a lot of those guys think, the way big-time athletes like that think, is like, I can come in and fix it. They don't think, oh, I don't want to be a part of this crap. No, they think, oh, well, they're struggling because they didn't have me. Like, I think that's how a lot of those guys think. So we'll see how that goes coming up in this offseason, and that's going to be. It's going to be weird, too, because this is the first year that the timing is different. Remember, like, it was all going on at the same time the last couple of years. This year, the portal, they've changed the rules. The portal doesn't open until, like, the first week of January. So it's going to be a very different vibe. And that's when you wonder, because even though the portal's not open in January, December is... You talk about, what do they call it in football? The legal tampering period. It's going to be the illegal tampering period of December, because if you're going into the portal, you want to make sure you have your landing spot so you can get enrolled for spring ball. Now, if you don't get that done until January, like, things move fast. Like, Syracuse's semester starts, give or take, the 15th every year. Like, that is a really short period of time. So I think there's going to be a lot of movement that happens behind the scenes before the portal opens, and then the day or two the portal opens, like, almost all of it's going to happen immediately. Yeah, San Diego Q's, to your point, like, if you can afford to, pay to. But here's the thing. If your choice is affording to pay a second quarterback or affording to keep that whole other group that you mentioned, Samuel, Delorier, Peel, Washington, Tremble, whomever, like, if that is your two choices, I think you have to take the risk that Angeli stays healthy or that Carney develops. It's not a great option. It's not a perfect option, but Syracuse is never going to be in the business of having a perfect option. It's just not, it's not possible. They're not going to be in the business of having a perfect option. They're not going to be like Ohio State that's like, oh, yeah, Nick Saban retired, Julian Sayin, who's been enrolled for half a day, leaves, and now we have the best quarterback in the country. Like, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen for Syracuse. And honestly, as great as McCord was last year, I'm pretty sure we're all done with the days of, like, relatives of the coaching staff working with Kyle's mom at the hospital and, or dad at the hospital, and then they all grew up together and everybody's known each other since they were 3. Like, I'm pretty sure that was a once in a lifetime, just everything happened in the exact right way. Like, how many schools would cut a common cord loose in the first place? Obviously, it worked out for Ohio State last year. They won the national championship. But, like, most schools wouldn't even cut that guy loose in the first place. So, it's one of those things that, The December for the behind-the-scenes stuff, that's why December is going to be so fascinating this year, because there's going to be so much maneuvering, and then none of it can become official till January. And then I wonder, all right, that's all going to happen. How much is going to leak out? How much this? How much that? I think it's going to be fascinating to watch, Bruce, come this December, where it won't actually be happening, but you'll just be, what? What's that? Who's doing what? What? And then that's going to lead to things like people are going to know that they're going to be losing this guy probably. Then who can they go entice? Like, I think we're going to see a lot of really, really terrible trickle down from the decision to move the portal back this year due to all of the crazed tampering. Not that it didn't happen before, but it's going to be above and beyond this year for sure. All right, we are fast arriving at 8 o'clock here. We've put in a full day at the old salt mines today. Again, if you missed basketball post game earlier, and you want to keep post gaming, just go click the button right there. It's like right next to what you're looking at. It's right there on the old front page of Brian Higgins 315 on the YouTube, which you know where it is because you're there right now. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe before you go. No live show Monday because no Fran press conference. Jordan and I will be back on Wednesday with a little TPS report at 8 o'clock. Saturday night will be our next post-game show, Syracuse at Drexel basketball in Philadelphia. With that, good day for hoops, not so much for football. Everything went kind of as expected today. Hope you've enjoyed us with us here in the 315. With that, have a good night and have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll talk again during the week.
Thanks for watching the 315 with Brian Higgins. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn your notifications on. We'll see you next time.